Digital Foundry is proudly sponsored by the Logitech G935 headset.
The original Nioh was a pleasant surprise when it launched just over 2 years ago. First announced around the reveal of PlayStation 3 back in 2005, the original game was rebooted by Team Ninja and released to critical acclaim more than a decade later. It's a tough-as-nails action game which borrows liberally from the Dark Souls formula while offering its own unique angle, and it works. With its success, however, it should come as no surprise that a sequel has been in the works, and this week we've had a chance to sample its progress. So today we're going to take a quick look at Nioh 2 on both PS4 Pro and the base system. What can you expect over the original game and how does it run? Let's find out. Nioh 2 is currently available as an alpha demo on PlayStation 4, but you'd never guess it from playing it. It already feels polished and refined with several key new technical features and refinements. Like the original, it's not a stunning game at first glance, but give it time and its more subdued visual elements begin to grow on you. The demo version depicts a dilapidated village encircled by vast mountains. The sun hangs low on the horizon, casting long shadows across its dangerous world. It makes a strong first impression, and while it looks rather similar to the original game, it soon becomes clear that the team has refined its presentation. Straight away, the lighting feels like a step up, with a more dramatic use of sun and shadow. In addition, the overall stage design is slightly more refined, with lots of fine detail spread throughout. It's not quite on par with From Software's recent Sekiro in terms of overall detail level, but it's an attractive game nonetheless and targets higher levels of performance. New to Nioh 2 then is the inclusion of HDR support, and while this video is limited to SDR, the initial results are rather impressive and further boost the visuals. It's especially effective in the demo stage. The distant sun is suitably bright and the contrast between shadowed and lit regions looks excellent. Like the original then, Nioh 2 includes multiple graphics modes allowing you to adjust the game to your liking. This includes Action Mode, Movie Mode, and Movie Mode Variable. All three options are available across both the PS4 Pro and of course the base system. But what do they offer? Well, Action Mode is the default. When selected, the game focuses on hitting 60 frames per second by any means necessary. This includes the use of dynamic resolution and a slight hit to overall detail levels across the world. On the PlayStation 4 Pro, Action Mode aims to deliver a 1080p image as often as possible, but it does slip below, hitting values such as 972p or even lower. Yet it holds close enough to 1080p as to not be distracting. Image quality isn't really the game's strong suit, however, as the anti-aliasing technique here isn't especially effective and there's plenty of shimmering, but it still works. A good temporal solution would definitely do wonders for this game. And of course, it's worse in the base PS4 in Action Mode, where the game drops down to 720p on a regular basis, sometimes jumping just above this point. It's rather messy and pixelated in motion thanks to the low pixel count, but it still looks good enough, I suppose. It's worth the hit if you want to play at 60 FPS. And yeah, Action Mode is very similar to the first game in this sense. It does feel as if the average resolution might be a tad higher, but it's difficult to say for certain. Either way, this is my preferred way to play the game, and based on the fact that it's the default, it's probably Team Ninja's as well. Movie Mode then is rather curious. This mode caps the frame rate at 30 frames per second while aiming for a higher resolution. On the Pro, this means pixel counts hang around 1800p, but it can go both above and below. But what's more interesting is this. It seems as if Nioh 2 is using some form of reconstruction. You get those double pixel width artifacts that we kind of saw in Red Dead Redemption 2. It's not awful, but it doesn't really look quite as sharp as you might hope. We do not see these artifacts on the base system, however, which aims to deliver a native 1080p image when playing in this mode. The variable movie mode then is similar on both machines, targeting a higher resolution, but that resolution does seem to fall a tad more often due to a higher frame rate target. So the resolution setup is very similar to the first game, but what about other details? This time you can toggle between various display modes in real time without returning to the main menu, which is a wonderful new feature. If you look behind the menu, you can see the changes happening in real time. The most obvious one seems to stem from variation in terrain quality. The movie mode seems to use some form of tessellation on the ground, which is disabled in action mode. There are other details which are improved in movie mode as well. In this shot, notice that the shadows are static on the action side while they move actively in movie mode. No matter which mode you use, however, things like screen space reflections, which appear on bodies of water, do appear rather chunky and low resolution. There's plenty of pixelated artifacts while moving the camera around. Also, Nioh 2 sports a really nice procedural cloud system that is present across all modes on both consoles, and it looks really nice in motion, I think. So there's rough edges, but the overall look is effective, especially when entering the yokai realm, where all sorts of effects are thrown at the screen to dramatic effect. But, as with the original, the key to Nioh 2 is performance. Like most games produced by Team Ninja, Nioh 2 plays best at 60 frames per second, which is exactly why it defaults to action mode on both machines. Firstly, there's the PS4 Pro, and quite honestly, the results couldn't be better. I captured the entirety of the demo using our tools and discovered that 99.9% of the time the game hits its 60 frames per second target with ease. For all intents and purposes, the game is locked to 60 FPS. Now, Team Ninja games have always focused on hitting this frame rate, but Nioh 2 seems to maintain this better than most. It really is super smooth, something which cannot be said of titles such as Sekiro by From Software. For an alpha demo, this is remarkably impressive. So it's very smooth on the Pro, but what about base PS4? After all, more people still play on the original console than the Pro. Fortunately, the results are pretty good, though not as stable as the PS4 Pro. In general, it hits the 60 FPS line, but there are some noticeable hitches and dips throughout which detract slightly from the experience. It's smooth, but not as smooth as it could be despite the massive drop in resolution. Still, the game is incomplete, and we did see noticeable improvements between the original demo for Nioh and the final product, so the team definitely has time to overcome these issues. Movie mode on Pro then is not great in comparison. There are two issues here. Firstly, there's dips below 30 frames per second at various points during the gameplay. The drop from 60 to 30 is already significant, but when you add in those extra dips, it winds up feeling even worse. Alas, that's not the only problem, and the other problem is somewhat more severe, at least to my eyes. Like the original, there's an inherent judder presented in this mode. It doesn't appear on the frame time graph, unfortunately, but it seems to be caused by a camera which moves in variable intervals, leading to a somewhat jerky feeling experience. It's difficult to explain, I suppose, but it just doesn't look right, as you can see. The base PS4 then seems to run more consistently in this mode, hitting 30 FPS throughout the demo, but it exhibits the same stuttering evident on Pro. Basically, movie mode just doesn't feel good to use on any system, and it's a shame that the team was not able to solve this for the sequel. I would not hold out hope on them fixing movie mode for launch either, since the original exhibited this exact same problem. Movie mode variable then is perhaps my least favorite. Here the resolution is boosted like normal movie mode, but the frame rate cap is removed, allowing the game to run above 30 FPS. This might sound good on paper, but ultimately it just means you're looking at mid-40s for most of the game. It does not come close to holding 60 FPS and winds up feeling rather jerky on both the Pro and the base system. This is the kind of mode that could kinda work with a good FreeSync setup, with a large range of course, but obviously the PS4 family of systems do not support this at all, thus you're left playing with a rather jerky experience. So if you're trying to decide between the three, at least for my money, I would have to say go with the action mode. It's far and away the smoothest option, and clearly the gameplay was designed to play best at 60. So yeah, performance is pretty much on par with the original. And the same holds true for loading times, which are another one of the game's best technical features. You will die a lot, and thankfully loading is extremely short. You're never stuck watching loading screens to retry after death. Everything happens within a handful of seconds. So basically that's where we're at then. Nioh 2 is shaping up to be a solid sequel that plays it rather safe, I think, but that's okay. The original is one of the better action games released this generation, and I'm curious to see how Nioh 2 plays out as a whole. If Team Ninja can cut down some of the grindy elements that persisted in the original title, specifically during the late game, this could be even better. Either way, we'll keep an eye out for the final version and see how that has shaped up, but that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, as always, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell at the top, and of course, follow us over on Twitter. And until next time, this is John signing off.
Featuring 2.4 GHz wireless, 50mm Pro G audio drivers, and DTS Headphone X 2.0 surround sound technology under the hood, the G935 headset delivers the ultimate wireless audio solution for gamers, whether you're playing on PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, or mobile. Order yours today from Logitech G.